The Mandalorian Episode 7 was shown to guests at Star Wars Celebration, which led to a ton of spoilers surfacing, and I've matched them all up with the leaks that we already have to paint a clear picture of the episode. Brace yourselves guys, because Episode 7 sounds insane. Unfortunately, not all of our heroes make it out of this episode alive.
This is the way.
We'll start off with what we know, and then we'll get onto what this sets up for the season final, and then what I think is likely to happen in the last episode based on these leaks. So far we know that Bo-Katan is pretty much set to rule Mandalore and lead them into the future now she has the Darksaber and the blessing of the Armourer, uniting the Children of the Watch and Bo's own forces, and she's going to be the one that really drives Mandalore back into the galaxy as a powerhouse. And at the conclusion of episode 6, it looks like their next mission now is to return to Mandalore to finally reclaim their planet. Now this is where we tie into episode 7. Now the runtime for episode 7 is a good one, it's 50 minutes and 40 seconds, and it's also co-wrote by Dave Filoni this time around, and it's going to be directed by Rick Famuyiwa, who is the executive producer of season 3. The episode is titled The Spies, and it kicks off with Elia Kane speaking to Moff Gideon via hologram down an alley, which I would assume is on Coruscant, about the Mandalorians ruining his plan to take over Navarro using the pirates. So that whole pirate situation was very much from Moff Gideon, and Carson Teva was right to suspect there was Imperial involvement with that. Now it does to me make sense that pirates are involved with the Imperials, as we know Vane, the pirate that split, the one that was very much for hire, is going to be part of Skeleton Crew and could be acting as a bridge between all of the shows. Now in this episode we're finally going to see IG-11 fixed up and working again, but this time a little bit differently. You see the droid component within IG-11 is removed, and one of the Azellans, one of the droid smiths on Navarro, controls it from a little seat inside its chest, and then you guessed it, this is then given to Grogu, and Grogu pilots it for the rest of the episode. It's also reinforced with Beskar apparently, and it's now going to be called IG-12, and there's a button inside for Grogu to press to respond yes or no, as he's yet to speak properly. And it's said that after this upgrade, Grogu is going to be capable of taking on and defeating stormtroopers on his own. Now after this is when Moff Gideon finally returns the Mandalorian, and we see him having a meeting with other heads of Imperial remnants throughout the galaxy, and they talk about Project Necromancy and Thrawn's imminent return. Now it doesn't say return from where, we'd have to suspect it's his return from the galaxy, they know he's on his way back, or just his return to the Empire and he's already back at this point. Now Gideon is a warden of a certain part of the galaxy, and he wants to bring the other Imperial Remnant leaders on board with his vision together, and that's probably the best path he believes the Empire has to retaking control of the galaxy. Now Gideon in this episode wears a black Mandalorian helmet, and it has horns on top of it, very much like the Armourer or Darth Maul, but it has a classic T-shaped visor, and it's said that the helmet will be black with red horns. Now Gideon is getting a full upgrade as well this season. He'll have a black and a red jetpack, and he'll also be wearing a new generation Beskar Dark Trooper suit, which it looks like he's going to be controlling himself. The Mandalorians are now all together under Bo-Katan and head to Mandalore to start settling on the planet. When they get there, they then meet another group of Mandos who have lived there for a few years now, and they live on some kind of boat, ski type of vehicle, and it looks like there's going to be 3 Mandos there, and they're very much scavenger Mandos, and they are loyal to Bo-Katan, I assume from her last rule of the planet. Now Din in this episode also swears loyalty to Bo-Katan. And now as the Mandalorians are making their way to the Great Forge, I'm not too sure why they want to go there first, but a big lava creature smashes up their vehicle as they're travelling, and the Armourer takes the wounded Mandos back to the big ship they currently have in orbit above the planet. I'd have to assume they want to go to the Forge first to make more weapons for themselves and fix up any armour that needs repairing. You'd also have to think that the Great Forge would very much be the heart of Mandalore itself, as it generates weapons and armour, 2 things that their religion relies heavily on. Now as the Mandalorians do eventually make their way to the Great Forge after some hiccups, they're ambushed by a load of Imperial jet troopers, and I believe these jet troopers are going to be covered in Beskar, as it is mentioned that stormtroopers are wearing Beskar for this episode, so it makes sense for me for the jet troopers to also be wearing Beskar as well. The Mandalorians manage to defeat the jet troopers, and then they move deeper into the Forge. This is where they're trapped in what appears to be an Imperial base under the surface of the planet, and they hear a jetpack descending down towards them, and they're hoping it's rescuers, other straggling Mandalorians that are there to help him, but it actually turns out to be Moff Gideon, and he's coming down in the full shebang, including cape and helmet. And it's revealed that having all the Mandalorians trapped on Mandalore together in one go was his plan the whole time, and it's now paid off. Now Bo uses the Darksaber to start cutting their way out of the trap, and as the Mandalorians fight off the Imperial forces that ambushed them, all the Mandalorians escape, thanks to Paz Vizsla, who fights off and destroys the remaining Imperial units. And this is where one of the big reveals are, and it's the 3 Praetorian guards that suddenly come up behind Paz Vizsla all at once and impale him at the same time, killing him. The Praetorian guards were mentioned apparently by Gideon in the meeting at the start of the episode, and they're also said to be accompanied in this fight by red stormtroopers with Mando-style helmets, which we do have a picture for as well. Now, as the episode begins to draw to a close, it becomes evident that the Mandalorians aren't winning this fight. They're very much on the back foot, and they've been beaten up pretty badly by the Imperial forces. Somewhere along the line, Din Djarin gets separated from Grogu and the other Mandos, and is then taken captive by Moff Gideon. Now, it's said for questioning, but I have to wonder, what would they have to question Din Djarin about? They already know where Grogu is. He's on Mandalore with the others. Could it be Luke Skywalker's whereabouts potentially? As Moff Gideon may rightly believe that Din Djarin and Luke Skywalker have crossed paths again since the Season 2 final for him to have Grogu back. And maybe he sees Luke Skywalker as the one big threat to the Empire, as he took down the Emperor and Darth Vader previously. Now, for me, these leaks do sound insane, and it's definitely a pickup from where we've been in recent episodes. It sounds great, but what it actually does is sets up an even bigger episode for the season final, which we'll get onto next. The bigger picture of what we're going to see happen here is actually that it begins the stories of what's going to follow on with the Ahsoka series and all the shows afterwards, and the conflict that is set to grip the galaxy going forwards, and it's going to be much bigger than anything we've had so far in these Disney Plus shows. So on the back of these leaks moving into the season final, Bo and the others are pretty much losing the battle, and at this point Din Djarin has been taken, so he's out of action, and Paz Vizsla is now dead. They're pretty much depleted, and it's clear that the Imperials aren't giving up Mandalore without a fight. And I have a feeling they're going to leave us with a potentially all hope is lost type of ending going into episode 8, or maybe we'll just get that spark of hope right at the closing moments. But either way, regardless, our Mandalorians definitely need rescuing, or they're not going to see out the end of the season. Now, going into the season final, I can see it playing out pretty similarly to what we had for the season 2 final. The last minute, they're going to be saved, but you have to ask yourself, by who? Now, I would like to mention that there have been some strong rumours about Sabine Wren actually appearing in The Mandalorian season 3, and I personally think that would be a great shout, as it would then give us that physical tie-in to the Ahsoka series, which comes out in August. But perhaps I do have a sneaky feeling that Boba Fett could have a part to play in it as well, and maybe he will come to return the favour for Din Djarin. You know, Din Djarin helped him out against the Pike Syndicate on Tatooine. Maybe somehow he heard of his capture. Maybe does Bo reach out to Boba Fett as she knows they're allies, or can R5 contact Peli to pass on the message? Or could it not be another character that comes into the play? And could it actually be the Mythosaur that is the one to rise up and take out the Imperials? At the end of the day, I think the Mandalorians will win, and I think Gideon and his forces will collapse from here, really setting up what we're going into with Thrawn in the Ahsoka series. And in terms of Thrawn in this show, I don't think we're going to physically see Thrawn, but we could get some strong indications that Thrawn's story in Ahsoka, which we know now is happening, is going to heavily tie into what we've just seen in The Mandalorian Season 3. Guys, let me know what you think about these leaks in the comments. Is there anything that you want to add to this? Remember to subscribe to the channel if you're new, you want to catch more videos, and leave a like, it's greatly appreciated. I'll catch you in the next one. This is The Way.